recording. Okay, we'll start local recording. And you both look thinner than usual tonight. Why, thank you, Josh. Thank you, sir. All right, here we go. This is the Home Server Show. It's episode number 223, recorded on Wednesday, May the 8th. It's the streaming Megasode, or the Streamasode. Welcome back to the Home Server Show. I'm your host, David McCabe. I am joined by the DMZ host, Mr. Richard Gunther. How you doing tonight, Rich?
I'm doing great tonight. How are you doing?
It's very good to have you. I'm doing well. I've been looking forward to this, as you know, for quite some time. So I don't want to beat around the bush tonight. I want to get right at the Streamasode. So,
right.
Richard, tell me where we can find you and all your good stuff.
Find me?
Yeah.
You mean other than right here at my desk all
Twitter
the time?
action? Yeah. For future prosperity, we're recording this event for everyone to see. So I want them to be able to come visit you.
Well, so I write on the Digital Media Zone, and I host Entertainment 2.0 on the Digital Media Zone. And if you give me an opportunity before we sign out, there's something else I want to pimp at the end of the show, but not quite yet. And then if you want to listen to me on Twitter, I have a couple voices there, and depending on what mood I'm in, I either tweet at what annoys me or at what impresses me.
All right, so I'll have all of that, of course, in the show notes, guys. So we'll be able to follow Richard, and I'm sure, I'm pretty sure a lot of my listeners are, doubled up on the DMZ. Either that, or they at least know and they read the site. So I'm pretty sure we all kind of listen to the same stuff and consume.
Yeah, this chat room looks pretty familiar to me.
Yeah. Certainly the chat room, these guys kind of bounce around all week long. I don't know how they do it. I can't do it. I don't know how they do it. All right, guys. I need to just do a quick little news snippet. The meetup for 2013 is going to be at the same location. For more information, please head out to homeservershow.com/forums, or just go out to our forums. And at the very top there, you're going to see a post about the meetup. It is in lovely Indianapolis, and you will be able to get rooms at the same place, hopefully. And they've got a little discount on the rooms, and we're opening up. I know. So for you guys that were there last year, it was I rented half of their meeting room. So this time I've got the entire room. So it's available to us. I got the entire thing. And I walked in there with the wall pulled back so you could see the entire room. And it was really odd to me. I don't know why, but I could not place the meetup there, because it was a different room. So it just looked completely different to me. So as we're doing it now, we should be able to honestly have two tracks. So we're going to have Home Server Show. We're also having Surface Geeks out there, and we're having Jim Collison's site, The Average Guy. So all three shows, all three blogs and podcasts are going to be sponsoring this meetup. So everybody, please head out there to the Eventbrite link that is in the forums that I've been talking about, or it'll be in the show notes on this podcast. Please go to homeservershow.com and click in there. This room can hold 90 people, so I will change the Eventbrite from 99 down to 90, and we're gonna be pretty much set at that. That's code, so that's the amount of invites that I can let out. So please RSVP and get your room. Now, you don't have to get a room at this hotel. There's another one across the street, and some guys went over there and actually saved a couple of more dollars. John Stutzman, our resident microserver expert, recommends that if you are going to be showing gear or bringing gear, try to get a room at the hotel that we're in on the first floor. He said it's much easier if you just do it that way, and it'd be much easier for you. Now, we're going to be going on Friday and Saturday, so I would really need a show of hands of the guys that could possibly be there on Friday night. She's going to let me have the room for no charge Friday evening, as long as the other people are out. So depending on when folks are going to come in, I'm saying I may open up Home Server Show headquarters to some folks. The way I see it is, if I know you, or I've shook your hand, you're invited to Home Server Show headquarters. We'll find something to do. Otherwise, if it's just going to be an evening thing, we'll probably just kind of have a little get together at the location and start setting up servers and all that kind of good stuff. So that's your meetup news. The only other thing I have for you is Synology has a new NAS released. It's a J series NAS, and I'm going to have that link in the show notes. I wanted to get that to you now because it is newsworthy. The price is going to be right on this thing, and we'll talk about this next week. We'll get into storage next week. This week is the streaming Megasode, or Streamasode, that I came up with about 10 minutes ago.
You're very clever.
So, Richard, I know that you heard Chris Lux and I on our digital hoarding episode, and you heard us talking about ultraviolet. Well, actually, Chris was talking more about ultraviolet. And you emailed me and said, hey, ultraviolet, let's go.
Yeah, I'm willing to talk about that. You know, I have been following ultraviolet since it first came out, and I'm somewhat of a convert. I started out with a very negative attitude toward it, and it still has a lot of problems. It still has a long way to go, but over time, it has become much better. So that's what we're here to talk about tonight, right? Just that, nothing but that, all ultraviolet, all night long.
2 hours of it. 2 full hours. We're going to go DVD by DVD. I hope your list is complete. Actually, no, I beat you up. I said, hey, if we're going to do that, we might as well go all in. Let's push all the chips to the middle, Richard. I want everything. So what I tasked you with, I said, let's do streaming Megasode. I want to do every service on every platform, as much as we can think of.
Every. I love your definitives. Every.
Every is my keyword. Now, we're not going to be able to do all those little Taiwanese, Chinese little boxes that have funky names. We're going to do major labels, and talk about that. Now, here's one thing. We're going to be able to continue this to the forums. Guys, we're not going to get it all. I guarantee you we're not going to get every little tidbit, but we're going to try. And we're going to push this out to the homeservershow.com forums. I'll get a post out there. It'll be in the show notes, and we can talk about all this good stuff. So, Richard, I'm kind of at your mercy. If you would like to begin with ultraviolet, and then we can just go from there wherever the show takes us. I'm open for that.
Yeah, I really would like to start there, because I think that it kind of gives us a basis for streaming video. I mean, right now, that seems to be the powerhouse, or the up-and-comer with all the different services that are out there, just because of the cross-platform and cross-studio support that it has. Now, I never thought I would have heard myself saying that a year ago, or certainly not a year and a half ago when it came out. So a little bit of background.
Okay.
There have been streaming services for years, right? We've had Netflix, we've had iTunes, we've had Hulu, and there are lots of other services around. But what the studios wanted to do was come up with something that was their own. They wanted to own this. And of course, you know, that just sets up red flags as far as I'm concerned, because that just means that they're not necessarily worried about the consumer. They're worried about their bottom line. Mm-hmm. And I get that. I understand that. But as a consumer and as a consumer advocate, I want the best experience possible. So a consortium of studios and retailers and content providers all got together and they're spearheaded by an organization called the DECE, and I should know what that stands for, but I'm going to have to use my cheat sheet for that because I don't recall. Digital Entertainment Content Ecosystem. There's a name for you.
Nice.
And they aligned a whole bunch of participants. So studios like Warner and Paramount and Universal and Sony and Fox and Lionsgate and DreamWorks, all the biggies. Notice one that I didn't save.
Probably 90% of the discs that I own since I have children.
You mean the ones with the mouse?
Yeah, the big ears on the mouse, maybe.
Yeah, so Disney is not a participant. Now, no surprise, Disney has been closely affiliated with Apple and Apple's iTunes store, and they have really embraced digital distribution through iTunes. And also they were in the process of creating a cloud-hosted movie system of their own. So they did not buy in. And they're still not a participant. They are the big holdout of the big studios right now.
Okay.
Apple is not a participant. Not a big surprise. They already have a system, a really good system that works. If you buy a movie and you want a digital copy with it, oftentimes you get an iTunes digital copy. Microsoft is not in. They have the Xbox video ecosystem where they're trying to sell their own videos, so they're not participating. And Amazon, who is becoming a bigger and bigger player in the video space, is also not in. So you have some of the largest players in terms of content distribution and one of the largest studios all not playing. Kind of remind you maybe of, I don't know, Blu-ray and HD DVD?
DVD. What was the name of that? Yeah, HD DVD. So pretty much all the studios except for all the major players. Major players are all going their own way.
Well, the major distribution channels, right?
Right.
But
right.
and then Disney as the other holdout. So that's a problem. And until they come on, they're probably going to have some challenges, and we're going to see this kind of format war. You know, we had Ben Drawbaugh from Engadget on the show a couple of months ago, and we were talking about how this really is the next format war. It's going to come down to who has the features and who has the titles. Mm-hmm. And right now they're kind of going back and forth. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens here. Now, how do you get an ultraviolet film? Right now, the most common way of getting an ultraviolet film is that if you buy a disc, oftentimes they have an option to get a free copy of the movie in ultraviolet along with the disc, or maybe it's an add-on. So you buy the DVD plus digital copy, and it's in like a combo pack. So it's not always a free thing. Sometimes you have to pay extra for it. That's not all that different from what was happening with Apple's iTunes copies. Sometimes you had to pay for them too. So that's not a big deal. What other ways could you get them? Well, there are services that have participated as distribution centers that previously were ways that you could purchase movies, like Cinema Now and Vudu. So now if you purchase movies through those services or purchase TV shows through Vudu, you can also have those available in ultraviolet, which means that you can play that ultraviolet movie back on any device that has an ultraviolet player and any service that makes ultraviolet movies available. So that's, in theory, that's a really good thing, right? It means all your content everywhere, anytime, any device. It's great. It's just not really coming out that way yet. What we're still seeing is that a lot of manufacturers have not incorporated this technology into their devices. And one of the main reasons is that there's no common file format right now. So if you were to buy a movie at Vudu and you wanted to say download it, they have their format and their separate program to do that. If you were to buy a movie from Cinema Now and you want to download it, they have their own software. And you may or may not be able to do it on the PC or the Mac, depending on what support their software order has. So it's very fragmented right now. It's very It's not what it's intended to be. It's not living up to the promise yet. But there's a potential for it to get there. And the big thing that's holding it back is a common file format. That is supposedly coming. By the end of this year, the DECE expects to provide a file format that would be available for any device to play back, and that should make it a whole lot easier to use this stuff. Now, of course, as a Media Center guy, what I want to see is a file format that I can play back in Media Center. Should we take bets on whether that's possible?
Yeah, I was gonna ask you about that. So I'll let you continue and let me hit you with the questions that I've been queuing up in my brain here.
All right. Well, so let me just wrap up on Ultraviolet here. There are some other ways that you can get Ultraviolet copies. You could just buy Ultraviolet. Like Flixster sells Ultraviolet movies. Paramount sells Ultraviolet movies. Now, I don't know why anyone would trust a company like Flixster or Paramount. Flixster, remember, is owned by Warner Brothers. I'm not saying don't trust Warner Brothers. I'm saying that these studios have a history of creating online services and then killing them. So I'm not of the belief that you should be buying stuff from a specific studio. I think you're better off buying this as a part of a disc, or maybe through a more broadly used service like Vudu and Cinema Now, which miraculously seems to have survived despite the odds for years and years.
That's true.
And then, and finally, there are ways that you can convert your existing discs to Ultraviolet. Now, that you can't do this with every one of your movies. Obviously, your Disney movies can't be converted because they're not playing. But most of your other movies are gradually getting added to the list of titles that you can take to, say, Walmart, or pop in your computer through a number of different conversion services that we'll talk about a little bit later. And for anywhere from, say, $2 to $5, get a digital copy of it either in the definition, standard def or high def that it is now, or upgrading from standard def to high def, which is also pretty cool. For example, I have Star Trek, the movie, and I have a DVD for that, and I wanted to get a high def version of it. So for $5, I could purchase through Vudu a $5 HD upgrade, which allows me to play that back in HD on any of these services that support HD, which is kind of nice. So those are the different ways that you can get it. Now, where do you play it? Typically, I find that when you have a copy of a movie on Ultraviolet, the best and easiest sources to go to are either Vudu or Flixster. Flixster is great for mobile devices because it's on nearly any mobile device that you have available. And Vudu is on a whole lot of different set-top boxes and Blu-ray players and televisions built right in. It's built into my TV. It's now available on the Roku. So you have all of the movies that you have purchased anywhere or that you have redeemed as a part of your Ultraviolet copy license available to play in Vudu. And that's pretty cool. When this first started, everybody was playing, no, this is mine. You can only play my movie on my site. So if you went to the Sony site, you can only play the Sony movies. And if you went to the Paramount site, you can only play the Paramount movies. That's still true. If you want to look at any of your other movies, they shuttle you off to another service where you have to log in. And one of the things we've been complaining about for the last, I don't know how many months, is that because everybody wants to have their own site and their own kind of retail storefront for Ultraviolet, you have to create all these different accounts. So honestly, not kidding, I have 7 different accounts that I had to set up to create and redeem my Vudu library or my Ultraviolet library. Wow. Now that's no longer the case because Vudu is a player and Vudu has licensing arrangements in with so many different people. Basically, all you need to do, it's still 3 different ones, but you need to sign up for Flixster, you need to sign up for Vudu, and you need to sign up for Ultraviolet. And you link those accounts, and it's pretty seamless now. Pretty good system that they have in place now.
Well, okay, so take me back, because I remember back in the day when I would buy a DVD, and it would be digital copy. So it would say digital copy, and it would come with a disc, and then you could throw that disc in, and you would have a choice. It was either iTunes or it would say Microsoft or Media Player,
Right.
WMV. So you'd get to choose which one, and it would drop out like an MP4 file, and you would own like a physical file, and you could play that wherever. Now there were difficulties in that, which we can get into, but I owned my digital copy. I possessed my digital copy.
Mm-hmm.
Now with Ultraviolet, is that the same, or can you only stream it? Can you download and physically own the bits, touch the bits, or can you only stream the bits?
Well, in theory you can, but think of it like iTunes, right? If you purchase or redeem a movie in iTunes, it is laden with DRM. You have to be able to connect to the mothership with your iTunes account at some point to verify that your account belongs to you and you're allowed to play all the stuff that's in your library. Now that doesn't happen every time you try to play something, but it is a part of the ecosystem that's set up in iTunes. Each of these providers, each of these different services that allows you to access your movies does have a mechanism for downloading the movie, but that's the problem right now. Because there's no common file format, every single one does it differently. There are 6 different programs that you would have to download and install if you wanted to be able to download your movies from all of the different services that sell them right now. And that's just ridiculous. And each one of them handles it different. I have a download from one studio, and I forget which one it is, that part of their DRM scheme, if you will, just is to thwart the process of copying by making it a pain in the butt to do so. So they split the movie into like hundreds of small little files. And then there's a key file somewhere that stitches it all together and allows the player to play it. It puts it in some arbitrary location on your hard drive. So it's not like you have, like you said, an MP4 that you can just drop someplace, and because you have the license to that, you can play it. I think that's pretty much how Cinema Now has worked, that it downloads a video file, there's a license associated with that video file, and as long as you've also downloaded the license from Cinema Now to play that video file, then you're good to play it at any point on that computer. But everybody's doing it differently. And so the common file format that's due out by the end of the year is supposed to solve that problem.
Okay.
I mean, I can't defend that because that's just terrible.
Yeah, it seems. Well, I'm just thinking of the guys and people like myself. I need to get some of my stuff offline. Now, that means like tablets on the road, if we're going to be boogieing down the road, and we've been reviewing and looking at, and I know you have as well, because we've talked about it offline, all these little hard drives that are starting to pop up from every company that you can throw on movies and stream to, 3 to 5 devices within the car. So I'm old school. I'm a digital hoarder, and I need my bits.
I'm there with you, and that's why all eyes are on this file format. Now, in the chat, Vinyl Freak is asking, does that mean you can't transfer ultraviolet movies to multiple devices? You can. There are limits. So you can download an ultraviolet movie to a bunch of different devices, and once the file format is out, you'll be able to then take the file and move it around. Right now, you can't do that. You have to download directly from a service. That's not terrible, because Flickster, again, as kind of the go-to application for mobile access, has the ability to download apps and keep them available locally on your device, or movies, sorry, and keep them available locally on your device. And so what that means is that if I go on a trip, before I go on a trip, I go in and I find 3 or 4 movies that I might want to watch while I'm on the plane, and I download them. They're on my iPad, and I can watch them there. Now, the iPad no.
Oh, great.
Right? Great. So that's one of the problems. So Flickster is now available on the Surface, but Flickster on the Surface so far only streams. It does not allow you to download local files yet. They say that that's something that they're trying to do, but
Okay.
it's not there yet.
I assume they'll fix that.
I would hope so.
We assume.
I mean, in all honesty, I never expected to like this as much as I do. And why do I like it? I like it because I don't have to rip these movies all the time now. It's like when I was getting iTunes copies, I was just getting lazy and I said, well, it's an iTunes. So it's easy to teach people that, all right, well, if it doesn't show up on the Media Center, just check iTunes. Well, now it's, all right, well, if it doesn't show up on Media Center, check iTunes. And then if it doesn't show up in iTunes, check Vudu. Well, where's Vudu? Well, you have to switch to a different device to be able to play Vudu because Apple TV doesn't play Vudu and Media Center doesn't play Vudu. So now we just added a third device to the mix. It's still too complicated, but it's great video quality on Vudu because Vudu probably has one of the best streaming high definition formats available today. And having access to these films from anywhere, whether I remembered to download them before I left or not, is pretty nice.
Okay, one more question about Ultraviolet, and maybe we can move on. And I assume maybe we'll come back to some of this, but I'm a Media Center guy.
Yep, me too, as you know.
What can I do with my Media Center and all this Ultraviolet stuff?
Well, I had high hopes when I found out that Cinema Now was participating in Ultraviolet. Because I remembered that there was a Cinema Now add-in for Media Center. That's dead now. It doesn't work anymore.
Great.
Yeah, that really was the only way that you'd be able to play these. There's one studio, I think it's Paramount, that allows you to download the file as an MP4 with a license, a plain old regular file. Interestingly enough, with every movie you download, it also downloads an executable that ends up in your installed programs. I, for the life of me, haven't figured out what that is. But that gives you the ability to then play that from your videos library or move it into your movies library. But that's one studio. Again, fragmented. Someone, I think Sixlayer pointed out in the chat that this is just a really fragmented system right now. It is. It's going to get better. The common file format is what we're all hoping will make this better. And again, a year and a half ago, I had nothing but bad stuff to say about Ultraviolet, but services like Vudu have really made it quite not just bearable, but a quite nice experience.
All right, so let me move this into the realm of devices and other services.
Yep.
Maybe let's think about some devices that I can get Ultraviolet on. Let's assume that we just talked someone into Ultraviolet and they say, "Oh, this is fantastic service. I must have it now." What can we consume this on? Can I get it on my Samsung Blu-ray player with all those widgets?
You probably can. Many of the Blu-ray players today have Vudu built in as one of the services that's available. It's a high-definition video service, so it works really well on Blu-ray devices, and it's one of the titles that, or one of the services that the manufacturers are trying to bundle with their products. If you have a smart TV, your smart TV probably has Vudu. That's how I have Vudu in my den. Now, that said, navigating the widgets in your smart TV is probably a big, huge pain in the butt. So that's not a great experience. But
Correct.
At least the product is there and you can probably use it. If you have a Roku box, you have Vudu. If you have Roku 2 or later, then you have access to the Vudu video service. So there are a lot of good places where you can get it. You're not going to find it on Apple TV. I do believe it's available in the Western Digital box. I'm not 100% sure about that. I know a lot of Windows and Media Center guys are big into the Western Digital box, but there are a number of TV set-top playback devices that would allow you to watch this on your big screen. And like I said, they're a lot of apps, Flickster being the most primary, that allow it to uh, display your content on a mobile device as well.
Okay. I think I'm going to build up to the big question. And someone mentioned something about the ring. So I'm going to keep it on that format. The one device to rule them all. I think that's kind of Lord of the Rings-ish sounding.
You
The
think that
one.
that exists?
No. We're going to work towards it. That's how we sign this podcast off. The one device to rule them all. So we'll work to that. So.
Wow.
I know there's not gonna be one is my prediction. There's not gonna be one, but we're gonna try. I think it's gonna be to each their own. There's probably a perfect box for everybody except for X percentage. Okay, so let's move on. Do you want to talk hardware, or would you like to talk service?
Well,
how would you like to?
We've been talking about Ultraviolet as a video cloud service, so let's stick with services, right?
Services.
So, as I mentioned earlier, there are a lot of video services. They've been a couple of years now. Cinema Now has been around, I think, for close to 10 years.
I don't know how, and I remember Cinema Now. When you would unbox your brand new Windows Home Server version 1, your EX470 from HP, there would be a postcard for, I don't know, a free month or a free movie or a free download or something. And I never used that thing. I always wish that I did, but I never used my little, and I had like 3 or 4 of those little postcards for Cinema Now. I never used it.
Yep. I mean, they've been around for a while, but let's look at the big heavy hitters first, right?
Okay, let's do it, and let's go from
Obviously, the biggest movie service is Netflix. That is probably the most popular video service now. They probably get the lion's share of revenue for streaming video today as a subscription service. That's an $8 a month expense. Not really that bad. You're waiting a little bit for discs there. You know, since they came online, and they had to renegotiate deals because when they first started streaming, all the studios thought, oh, well, you know, big deal. Okay, people are going to watch it on their on the internet. Nobody's going to want to do that. Well, it turns out everybody wanted to do that. So the deals that they had for close to nothing before are now very expensive and come with all kinds of terms, like you're not going to get new movies until they've been on the market for 8 weeks, and a whole bunch of restrictions like that. But they still have a good number of titles, probably more than anyone else does. They have a lot of crap titles, and they're trying to clean that up. They recently came out, Hastings recently came out, their CEO, saying that they really want to make themselves a go-to brand, an HBO quality type of brand. And you can see that even with the custom programming that they're creating themselves or commissioning themselves that's unique to their service. So honestly, I have a love-hate relationship with Netflix. It's one of those services where I wish that they didn't have all the restrictions that they do have on them, but it's not their fault. I recognize that. And they're the go-to folks. And they have more than just movies. They have tons and tons and tons of old TV shows, entire series of them.
Okay, that was going to be my question. I was like, what about TV? So tell me, what kind of good stuff can I get? What kind of good TV?
So if you're the kind of person who enjoys watching old series and binging on them, Netflix is the place for you. You know, we were talking about some sci-fi series the other night in our after show, and we were trying to figure out where different series were available. Netflix often has series in their entirety. If you wanted to, for example, watch Alias, if you wanted to see any of the Star Trek series, if you wanted to see the more recent Stargate series, if you wanted to, they're great with sci-fi. They have tons of dramas. They have partnerships with Fox and ABC. If you wanted to watch all of Lost from the beginning, you could watch it there. They have all kinds of content. Now, the problem is, and I'm going to say this more than once tonight, licensing agreements change. And so content can come and go. You used to be able to watch, as an example, a sci-fi series, Stargate SG-1. All 10 series were available on Netflix to watch at your leisure, or if you wanted to binge on it. None of them are available now. Why? That deal must have fallen through, or it just was too expensive for them, so they're not carrying it anymore. So one of the things that you have to be careful of as you're thinking about cloud video services, and you're saying, oh, I don't have to buy any of these DVDs, or I don't have to record stuff because it's all available online. Well, it may be today, but you don't know if it's going to be there tomorrow. So that's something to be cautious of. Netflix has HD quality video and audio, and they have a great add-in for Media Center that has come bundled with Media Center for the last 2 versions. I don't know if you use that. Do you use that in your home?
I do not use Netflix.
Ah,
I do not. Yeah, we can get into my issues later.
All right.
No, my question is, okay, TV. Well, I mean, what about like the latest TV? Like, I don't watch a lot of drama. I don't watch a lot of sci-fi, but I've gazed a couple of little shows that I would like to probably maybe get into. I don't know if they're good or bad. We'll just leave that for other folks to leave that for the chat room.
Don't judge. Nobody's judging here.
Yeah,
Dave.
don't judge. Okay,
Tell us.
so Ugly Betty. No, I'm just kidding.
That was a funny series.
How recent? That's my question. What kind of recency, is that a word? Can I get here?
Sure. We'll make it a word.
You know, because like NBC will put out a show that, or I don't know if they will, but most of the networks will put out a show a week later or a couple days later after they air it.
Yep.
So what about Netflix?
Yeah, Netflix has experimented with that. So they have a couple different distribution models, but their most common is that you're not going to see it on there until about a year or 2 after the season has ended. And that's pretty typical of how the different studios want to structure their licensing arrangements with Netflix. Now, they've done different deals with different providers. So, for example, the series Continuum that was just on Sci-Fi Channel a couple of months ago, that whole season is already on Netflix and available for viewing. When Heroes was on NBC, they experimented with a model where the day after the show was viewed online or viewed on TV, you could watch it on Netflix. So episode by episode, they were adding it. And then, of course, for TV shows that they've commissioned or that are unique to their network, if you will, Netflix's own shop, they have a very unique model where they dump all episodes out at the same time. And that's true, video binging. You can just watch as many as you want to, or you can watch them week by week or night by night. So they have a bunch of different distribution models. But if you're looking for what was on last week or what was on last night, you're usually not going to find that on Netflix. So where are you going to find that? You're going to find that on Hulu.
Right. Okay.
Right?
So I'll give you just a small gaze into the issues that I would probably face, and that a consumer that I might be. I like, and okay, so I'll include the wife. Anything that could help out that. She likes all the little reality shows like the Dancing with the Stars and the American Idols and The Voice and all that kind of stuff. I watch Survivor, and that's it. I don't have cable. If I had cable, it would be over with. I watch everything on Discovery, Military, and History. So where do I go to get those kind of episodes, and even the drama shows? Like, I caught the last episode of that Kevin Bacon show. I have no idea what it is. Some kind of cult.
Forgotten, or no, what is it called? I forget the name of it. I've recorded it all, haven't watched any of it.
Yeah, chat room, help us out. So I watched the last episode and I was like, I kind of liked it. So bummer, I know the ending.
Don't spoil it.
Yeah, so things like that. Where do you go to get things like that?
So first stop, if you want to watch it on your television. So everything that we're talking about, I'm assuming that most people are going to want to watch this
Yeah,
on
and
their
for us,
television
that's
somewhere,
95%. Right? Yeah, TV.
I mean, I know the TV is dead and nobody's watching stuff on their television. Bullcrap. That's
Yeah,
just,
their wives are.
yeah. Televisions are doing fine. People aren't buying as many because there's no reason to buy new ones. So Hulu is pretty much available again on every box you can get out there. There's even a way, thanks to a couple crafty plugins, one built by the DMZ's own Chris Barnes, that allow you to tie Hulu into Windows Media Center. Well, Hulu is by design the kind of the archival, if you will, of shows for the different networks, and everybody except for CBS is playing. So you're going to find
My Survivor.
Yeah.
I'm
well,
that's been show 223, folks. That's good.
So you're not going to get the most recent episode of something like Survivor out there. But there are plenty of shows that are just maybe a day old if you're paying for Hulu.
Okay.
Or 8 days old if you are instead just trying to use the free version of Hulu. If you want to use Hulu for free, then basically you're not going to be able to see anything until 8 days after it airs. That's just how it works. But if you pay for it, then you can get things within 24 hours of their airing. Now, regardless, Hulu has almost the opposite of windowing going on. It's the same thing that the networks do in their own websites. They typically only keep about 5 or 6 episodes up there. I don't know what the logic is for this. You would think that if you're in episode 9 and someone stumbled upon your series in Hulu and they thought, hey, I'd love to catch up on this so that now I can become a regular viewer, you would want them to do that. But for whatever reason, that is not what the content providers are doing. They usually only keep about 5 episodes up there, sort of the same thing that they do on their websites. Now, where are you going to find Survivor? If you want the most recent episodes of Survivor, the sad news is you have to go to CBS.com.
Mm-hmm. No, you're right. I got to either that. I think they've got some apps. I don't remember if they do in Windows 8.
Now there's an app for iOS, and you can see recent episodes, 8-day-old episodes in iOS of pretty much everything they have except for, I believe, NCIS and Big Bang Theory.
All right,
and
so
those are just licensing problems.
Okay, so Gear Cam here. I've got CBS on the RT. I don't know if you've seen that.
So that's a CBS app? That's pretty cool.
Yeah, CBS. So there it is.
All right.
Watch videos from your favorite CBS shows. Okay, so I'll get that installed, and we'll switch back here.
I'll get that installed. That's pretty good. That's good to know.
Okay, so maybe if I miss a Survivor,
you could watch it there.
See. We'll see if last week's is on there after this thing gets installed. So.
Now there is a solution to watching this on your media center. Actually, there's a solution to watching pretty much anything from any of the networks as long as you're willing to play with DLNA in your home.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Bitcoin and the underground. But keep going. I haven't tried that. Please, on YouTube, Google. No, I've never, ever.
There's a service that I am a big fan of, and I just talked about it on this week's episode of the Entertainment 2.0. Josh is going to kick me under the virtual table.
Some kind of podcast I've heard of.
Stumbling on the name of our show. So
dump.
There's a service called PlayOn. And essentially, PlayOn is a DLNA server that takes the content that's served up through each of these different providers' websites, more or less scrapes it, and then makes it available to you as a stream to consume from any DLNA player that you have in your home. So it's a server. It means you have to run it on a computer sometime that's just always up.
Yes.
And DLNA is designed to be auto-discovered. So if you have a client for DLNA, like I was going to say Xbox, but Xbox's DLNA client is terrible. Basically, DLNA is not a user-friendly solution because it is based on folder structures, and it's not easy to navigate. But the beauty of PlayOn is that they have pretty much every service that you subscribe to and pay for, or every service that's available on the web. And if you have a player, then you can access anything that's on these websites without having to go to the website to play it. So the latest episode of Survivor would be available through your own in-house DLNA server. You just navigate to CBS, navigate to recent episodes, and you'd find it in there. And if you want that on your media center, there is a really good add-in for Media Center called TubeCore. And TubeCore, I think it's about $20 or $25, and it gives you access to all of the DLNA folders very easily with folder art and everything, and it makes all of that content readily available for you right in Media Center. So there is a way, Dave.
Okay, now I've been a PlayOn subscriber. I've recently stopped because I don't use the thing. I found it just too kludgy for me to flip through, and my kids couldn't do it because there was just absolutely too many. I would flip through it on Media Center, and I don't know if I didn't have TubeCore because I did not pay for it, but I had some other kind of PlayOn add-in,
front end, right?
Yeah, that hit the server. And, I could flip through it and get PBS and things like that. And I remember back in my Android days, sitting in a doctor's office, connecting to my media center and streaming a PlayOn.
Mm-hmm.
Somehow. I don't remember how I did it, but that was 2.2 Android too. So that
entirely possible. Entirely possible.
I remember doing that.
But what you described is exactly right. The problem with DLNA is that it's really hard to navigate because it is a hierarchical structure. So it's not like you can say, across all of this stuff, find me Survivor. You have to know that you're going to CBS, that you're going to recent episodes, that you're then going to full episodes. It's not fun to navigate. That's a big, huge problem. And there are companies that are trying to solve that problem. The makers of HD Home Run are working on this with the DLNA group to try and make this much easier for people to use. Because right now it's hard. But if you really want that content and you're savvy and you have people in your home who are savvy, and if it just happens to be there and it's not going to get in their way, then it's worth throwing it on your media center. All right.
Okay. I assume that if I was a single guy, that would work, but that'll never work in this household with kids and Mrs. Home Server Show. But okay, continue.
All right, so let's look at other services that you can watch stuff on. Amazon. Amazon kind of came out of nowhere. If you remember, they started making digital copies of video available through a service called Amazon Unbox. And you would buy these videos or rent them, and you could watch them online, and that was pretty much it. And it was clunky, and then out of nowhere, they came up with this thing where they said, all right, well, if you're a Prime subscriber, now, Dave, do you use Prime?
Absolutely.
Of course you do. You are promoting it almost every other episode, I think you talk about
I'm about to pimp it hard. HomeServerShow.com/Amazon.
Prime is awesome. For $79, you get 2-day shipping paid for on practically anything you can think of. I had my television, my brand new 51-inch television delivered for free over Amazon Prime. I had my 40-pound audio-video receiver delivered for free through Amazon Prime. It's amazing. So just for the shipping alone, for $79 a year, you're getting a pretty good deal. Well, they start throwing in all this extra stuff. All right, well, now if you're a Kindle user, you can have access to a free lending library, and you can loan your books to people. Oh, and if you're a Prime user, then you can also have free access to this whole video library. And the video library started out pretty measly, and it's grown and grown
Yeah,
and grown.
it was a little small, but
It's
it has. It's
pretty good now. You know where you can watch Stargate SG-1? All seasons? Amazon.
okay. Hmm.
And their paid video library is pretty much complete. I don't think there's anyone who isn't in the paid Amazon video library. It's pretty much just like iTunes. You know,
Yeah.
if it's available to be purchased, then Amazon has it.
Sure.
So as a streaming service, they're pretty good. Now they're not on as many devices, and that's where it gets a little bit more.
Okay,
difficult.
now there's your problem because I love Prime. I loved it before they came up with this video thing. I loved it before they even had the Kindle.
Yep.
So now I use the Kindle lending library to get free books. I read the Hunger Games series on freaking Kindle for free.
I'm waiting for the Cliff Notes.
There you go. There you go. So I do that all the time. I check out. I try for military books and World War II books, and it gets a little harder to do that. But still, I buy books all the time. But the Cliff Notes are the movies, by the way.
Well, and that's how I know Hunger Games. That's the only way that I know Hunger Games.
Yeah. No, love the books. Love to read. The videos. We try, Richard. We try to get into them. The only thing that I can do is use my freaking Yahoo widget on my Samsung 55 and navigate the most popular. That's the only way I can stomach the menuing that I have. That's the only thing that I have right now. I think I may have something laying around that hooks into Prime. I'll let you tell me, but I do searches every once in a while and try to find something to watch. We went on a binge. Gosh, it was a long time ago. We went on a binge watching the Jackass movies. Just tons of adults watching idiotic people, do
idiotic
stupid things,
Yep.
and it was fun. You can do things like that, but getting to it, Richard, is my problem. How do I get to it better? And remember, I've got the TV, I've got a media center, I have an Apple TV, and I think I have a boxy box in a box somewhere.
A boxy box in a box?
I think so.
All right. Well, you might be out of luck with the devices that you have.
Of course. Of course.
So I'm going to turn to my go-to device for services. And there are two of them, actually, depending on what ecosystem you're in. One of them is sitting behind you with a white faceplate.
Okay,
And
so we have to...
That is the
Go to
Xbox
me.
360.
Okay.
So the Xbox 360 has a very good Amazon Video app that allows you to browse and view any of the content available in the Prime library.
Do
And
you have to pay for gold or anything like that?
well, of course you have to pay for gold. Really? Do you
TF.
really? Are you just
that
baiting me? You're baiting me for another rant about Gold Live, right?
I don't game. I don't touch the games. This would be the only reason. I mean, I know the Netflixers have to get it, but if May 21st does not turn out a brand new Xbox that I don't have to pay live for to get to this stuff, then they're going to lose me in the living room.
I'm pretty much convinced that you're going to have to pay live, even if you have that. Well, yeah, we know you're going to have to pay live. If the rumors are true, live is living on. It's part of the deal, and getting a live contract, if you will, is the way that you're going to help supplement the price of your box and make it less astronomical.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not a fan of live. I think it's ridiculous. But the reality is that you can get it for $40 a year now if you buy it through Amazon. So it's not worth complaining about too much. But it is infuriating that you have to pay $40 to use services that you already pay for.
Right.
I get that.
My $79 a year Amazon Prime. So homeservershow.com/Amazon. Okay, so they got a good app. Can I browse?
They have a great app. You can browse. You can search. You can watch stuff that you've put on a watch list. So here's the trick to Amazon. If you want to make it easier to get to stuff on Amazon, browse it while you're on the web and look for stuff that interests you. And when you find something that interests you, add it to a watch list. It's kind of like a Netflix queue. And the watch list just keeps a track of stuff and kind of bundles up those things that you want to look at later.
Okay.
And it makes it easy to get to on most of the devices that have modern players for Prime Video.
How about Smart Glass?
How about Smart Glass? What about it?
Does that work in the app? Can I use Smart Glass? Can I use my phone as a keyboard? Navigate? Find
all the stuff you can do on Xbox where you can use your Smart Glass as a controller for Xbox works within the applications.
Okay.
So that includes using a keyboard, using gesture control. I wish there were more interaction with the applications themselves. Some of the applications now at least show cover art for whatever's playing, but the in-app support other than basic navigation is just not consistent yet.
Okay. Just want to make sure. Now, the reason I'm putting that off is I'm hoping when the new one is released, there is a shakeup in Live. Because I've already heard about the Live family plans has already been kind of shaken up.
Right.
So hopefully something will change for the better for my household. And
well, maybe. I just don't. I would not bank on Live going away. I think that's
no, I don't think it's going to go away at all. But I'm thinking maybe this is what's going to allow me to swap out my HTPC and move in the Xbox in there, if that's going to work.
Possibly. Now, another alternative, way, way, way cheaper, and I think it might have been SixLayer that mentioned this in the chat earlier. Roku. Roku is my second go-to box.
Okay.
That has nearly every service that you can think about, perhaps except YouTube for some reason.
So I'm leaving Media Center for something. It's just you have to decide what.
Absolutely. Unfortunately, there's just no way around that right now. And I think over time we'll see more and more of the functionality of Media Center get baked into the Xbox, but it's not all there yet. And who knows if it will all get there. But if you can deal with the idea of having Media Center and some other device, then your other device should either be an Xbox or a Roku, because those two give you access to a world of video services.
Okay. So let's just move from services. Do you want to talk about that, Roku? Now you've whet everybody's appetite.
I can talk about the Roku. Now, I love the Roku. I've been a fan of the Roku since version 1. I didn't buy version 1. I raved and raved and raved about version 1 to a bunch of my friends, so much so that one of my colleagues at work ended up buying me one for Christmas. Like, apparently he thought I was going to die if I couldn't get one.
That's nice.
Not a bad gift, huh? Very cool.
Not a bad gift at all.
Roku has been available for a long time for anywhere from like $49 to $99, depending on the box that you were purchasing. Now, if you want to buy a Roku, the current model Roku 3, it's $99. $99 gives you access without any additional fees except for your subscription services like Netflix and Hulu Plus, access to a ton of content. It has a bunch of different sports channels, including NBA, MLB, NHL, and just a ton of other sports services. It even has live television. We posted something a couple of months ago, actually 2 months ago, after I was at South by Southwest and saw a demonstration of Time Warner Cable's TV app. And they have a live TV streaming app on Roku. So if you're a Time Warner Cable subscriber and you can authenticate with Time Warner Cable servers, then you can watch your TV channels from your Roku live. Really cool. So This is a pretty amazing box. It allows you to plug USB sticks or a USB drive into it if you have maybe a big, huge Drobo full of movies that you want to be able to watch. And the only thing that it really can't do right now, and this is still something that people are clamoring for, and they say they're looking at it, is it can't act as a DLNA player. And it would be awesome if you could use it as a DLNA front end.
Oh, you mean I can't map it to my network drives and pull my ripped movies off of it?
You can't get stuff off of your network. Now, what you can do is you can use a PlayOn app that's available on the Roku to play any content through PlayOn. So that's a plus too. It does not work with Play2. It is not a Microsoft authorized DLNA player. Again, it doesn't do it doesn't do DLNA, so then you can't use Play2 with it. And it can't get to your iTunes library.
Killing me. Well,
but what can get to your iTunes library?
Play2, I would like to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It'd be nice to be able to play to.
Sorry, coffee and water break there.
You know what you can play to?
No, what?
Your Xbox.
Yeah, no, you can play to the Xbox. You can AirPlay to your Apple TV. Roku.
Can't do that.
Now, I guess I would be okay. Why complain? Because I get all my movies in Media Center. That would be fine. That's fine.
Yeah.
I'm okay.
But still, if you can deal with that idea of two devices, basically, you have your Media Center and you have something else, either your Xbox or your Roku. That Roku is a powerhouse, and it's tiny. I mean, it's about the size of an Apple TV now.
Okay, sorry.
Want to talk about Apple TV?
Yeah, I was showing everybody on the live stream this Roku streaming stick. It's just like an HDMI stick.
You have one of those little guys?
No, I do not. I do have. Yeah, I have some kind of HDMI USB thing. I got from CES. You might have seen it. I'll dig it out. But let's talk. Let's talk Apple TV and what we can and what we cannot do with that.
So Apple TV is a really good deal if you're bought into the Apple ecosystem. And by Dave getting up and walking away from his chair, I can tell that he's not. But nonetheless, there are a lot of people like me who have movies or videos or TV series or music that are part of their iTunes library. And the Apple TV is really the only device that you can use to get at that stuff and consume it on your television somehow. There are other hacky ways, but it's probably way more trouble than it's worth. And I'm a big fan of the $99 Apple TV device if, again, you're bought into the Apple ecosystem. Now, because Apple sells video, they're not going to have apps where you can buy video. What they do have is apps where you can subscribe to video. So they have Netflix, they have Hulu Plus. We have 100% reason to believe that they're going to have HBO Go later this year. And we believe that because the head of HBO has told us so. Okay. They have NHL, NBA, and MLB sports channels. So there's a lot of good video content there. And they've been playing with the idea of live TV on that box. They've had some experimental concerts and things like that, live events that they've covered, sort of like the Xbox Live Player. Very similar to that. It's not a basic service that they offer, but every once in a while it's something that comes out. So the capability exists for that to stream live TV if they were to ever add that. So that's kind of cool. So again, Apple TV if you're in the iTunes ecosystem. Otherwise, either Roku or Xbox is your box of choice.
Yeah.
Now, there are other things, right? I mean, you can play back video and you can get to these services on the PS3, for example. Now, I'm not a PS3 owner. I don't even know if I know someone who has a PS3, but oh, you do? Okay. All right. Well, PS3 has MLB.
I don't need to know anything about it.
NHL, yeah, no, but your
It's
listeners
only,
may,
I
right?
know, I'm just kidding. It's only my Blu-ray player. I bought it way back in the day when Blu-ray players were about the same cost as a PS3, and I have 0 games. I don't even know if I know where the freaking controller is because I bought I bought one of those little USB things and it has a little remote, so I have no clue. But what can you do on that thing? Because there's all kinds of menus on it.
Yes, so there is a whole lot of stuff on there, and you can play stuff through DLNA from your home network. You can get to different sports networks, MLB, NHL. As far as I know, this is the only box I'm aware of that gets NFL. And if anybody in the chat room knows otherwise, please correct me. But through my research, this is the only one I'm aware of that can actually get you NFL. So that's pretty cool if you like that. It has the basic services. I don't think it has Vudu, but it has the usuals. It has Netflix, it has Hulu, it has YouTube, so stuff like that. And of course, like you said, it's a Blu-ray player. So that's, there's a good reason to believe that they sold as many of those devices as they did when they first came out because they were Blu-ray players.
Right. Yeah, it was back in the age where if you asked the question, what is the best Blu-ray player on the device? Which Blu-ray player should I get? And it was PS3.
The PS3.
Yeah, because it was upgradable, flashable, and the ones that were coming out in those days weren't compatible with the new formats and stuff, so you couldn't watch certain movies. So it was a no-brainer back in the day.
Yep.
And still, that's all it is used for. Absolutely. I've never purchased a game. Poor Sony. I'm sorry, Sony. Sorry. Apple TV, just to jump back to that, I own one. I bought it for one reason and one reason only. My children love the fact that I can shoot a movie. I can edit scenes on the fly, start, stop, edit, fade, and all that stuff with an app.
Yeah.
And then when it's done, I can
put it in the big screen.
Straight to that Apple TV, and they just eat it up.
Mm-hmm.
They eat it up. They love that, and it was completely worth the $99 that I paid for it.
Absolutely.
I don't think I've ever rented from iTunes. I have not purchased a movie from iTunes. Now I've gotten music. I think everybody on the planet has purchased a song at one time or another. But now I'm converted over to Amazon. But that is an awesome feature, and I will miss that when I move over to Windows Phone. But I hope that the Play 2 and something works. If I could get that new Xbox in the living room and everything kind of works with Windows Phone, I got a little Play 2 going there. I'd be a happy camper.
Yeah, we'll see how well that works. I mean, I haven't really had enough time with my tablet yet to play with Play 2 and see how reliable that is. So far, my couple of experiments have not gone all that well. AirPlay just works. It's amazing that I can just, I can bring something up on the Max Go or HBO Go apps on my tablet and play it up on the big screen just through AirPlay. AirPlay with an Apple TV is also a great device for a conference room at work. I actually take one of them with me quite often when I travel if I know I'm giving presentations, because I immediately have a way with one cable and that tiny little box of throwing stuff from either my computer or my tablet up on the big screen.
True.
So it's a great little device. There's some other boxes probably worth talking about quickly. You mentioned the Boxy Box. Boxy's doing some really interesting stuff now where they're coming out with a tuner that would allow you to tune your cable channels. Even though they're encrypted, they'll be IP selectable and decoded so that they can be played back on the Boxy Box. And all that's legal. In fact, all that is explicitly following some of the FCC changes recently that allowed the cable companies to encrypt all their channels.
How about all those other fun stuff with Boxy?
Yeah.
Is that on there? Is Amazon
everything
on there?
Yeah, all your basics are on there. I don't know about Amazon. I'm not entirely sure about that.
Okay.
From a sports perspective, I think they only have MLB. I don't think that they have any of the other majors there, which is a little bit disappointing.
I don't have time for sports anymore. I really don't. It's sad, but I just now found out that you have to vacuum your pool, Richard. I did not know that. So add one more thing to my list. As Jim
How could you not know that?
I didn't know. It's my first pool. Shut up, Jim Collison. I know you're laughing. Hush. I didn't know.
I know.
I didn't know.
I know. I'm
Still
looking.
have season tickets to the Colts, though.
I'm just when you figure out what your monthly pool expense is this spring, let me know because I need to add that into my new home calculations.
Everybody just tells me go saltwater. That's it. So this brought to you by Pools of Fun. No.
Now the other cool thing that Boxy's doing is Boxy is offering a DVR service. So essentially a DVR in the cloud where if you have this tuner, you'd also be able to record things. And they give you a certain amount of space and you're paying, I believe, $99 a year. I'm not sure if that's a one-time or a yearly. I'm assuming that's a yearly. This is not something that I use myself, so I'm not enormously familiar with it. But pretty cool. I like to see these device manufacturers trying different stuff and adding live TV. They have an over-the-air tuner capability. That's cool. The cable tuner capability is going to be really cool.
They're really positioning themselves as an all or nothing. I mean, they're not they're not trying to. Well, they're trying to go up against Roku's and stuff. But you go to their website that I'm looking at now. It's cloud DVR, stream TV and recordings to any device. All you need is an HD antenna.
Yep.
Wow. So they've gone from view all your content and more to, hey, we're TV.
Pretty much.
Wow.
Now that the arrogance of that presentation of themselves is kind of typical of the management of that organization. I mean, they really take an approach that, we are out here trying to beat a system that we think is broken. And I mean, they're kind of right. So it's an interesting approach. A couple other boxes I want to touch on real quickly before we end here.
Okay.
The Google TV exists. That's about all I'm going to say about it. The Western Digital box. The WD-TV, the WD Live, and Live Hub, these are pretty cool boxes, and they've been around for a couple of years. And one of the reasons that Media Center people like them is that they can play WMV files, and not all of the different devices out there allow you to play WMV files from your own network or over DLNA or anything like that.
Okay, so they sell 3 extra. If people really ripped to WMV way back in the day and not converted to anything else?
Well, that's probably a fair point. I think that they're also one of the boxes that they play M2TS and some other formats that not all of the boxes are able to play, but they play off your network, and that's something that not everything can do. So
somebody in chat saying Blu-ray native rips. Vinyl Freak probably knows all of this. And WTV files? They can
WTV files I was not aware of, but if it can play that now, it wouldn't surprise me.
Interesting.
That would not surprise me.
Vinyl
that
Freak
makes
says
it
he
more
owns
valuable.
one.
More valuable.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay.
All right. Good to know.
It seems like that's a popular box that I know zero about.
Yeah, I do not own one. I've kind of been following it since they first premiered it as one of the first Play 2 targets way back when they were coming out with Play 2. I believe it was in Windows Vista. Is that when Play 2 came out?
I think that's correct.
So
I remember doing it once and being like, "Oh, cool! A movie played on my Xbox," and then that's back when I didn't, it didn't work for me. It didn't matter.
Yeah. So it's pretty cool. It's worth looking into. I haven't had an opportunity to get my hands on one and really play with it. Vinyl Freak in the chat is saying that the UI isn't pretty, so I probably wouldn't like it. That's something that I'm a bit of a stickler about. And I think most people with families do care about that because they want something that's nice and easy for everyone in the household to be able to use. So
Okay.
now, before we get off of the topic of devices, two more things I want to mention. There are lots of rumors that Amazon's going to put a box out. Nobody really knows what this thing's going to do, but the word is it's only going to play Amazon Video. Dave, doesn't that seem really stupid? Like, why would they do that?
Yeah, that surprises me. Okay, so I've heard that rumor, but I've heard, I mean, gosh, this whole second quarter is just nothing but rumors, all for Amazon, for Apple, for Microsoft, for everybody. So, I don't know why that they would close that if they want to be in the living room, which there's a big living room fight that is about to start, and we know. And I think the first volley is going to be from Microsoft on the 21st
Mm-hmm.
to see what they throw out there for us. Is this truly their living room play? And I was not aware. I knew Amazon was going to expand their tablet presence, but I wasn't aware that they wanted the living room as well.
Yeah, I don't get this. And if they put a box out that only plays their library, I don't know who would buy that. I don't know why that's appealing to anybody. I think for this to be successful, they need to have their own service, maybe access to your own network at least, maybe build in DLNA or Play2 or something like that. I think it can't just be Amazon Video Library because that's, as far as I'm concerned, a dead end. So it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, it would not be interesting to me.
We've talked about this already, but a reminder to people that a lot of you already have smart TVs. And this is not pretty either because every TV does it differently and most of them do it badly. But many of them, if you either turn on the Wi-Fi or plug an Ethernet cable into the back of them, will give you a good variety of different services. And many of them are updating those services pretty regularly, even flashing the devices so that you have a better experience over time. I know Samsung's been playing with that. So I am not a big advocate, but if you don't want to spend the money on a box and you already have a smart TV, it may be worth seeing what services your smart TV already offers you.
Yeah, you're right on it's not pretty. I mean, right now, I could be happy with Amazon Prime. Let's see, Vudu is on my Blu-ray, and Hulu Plus is on my Blu-ray. I think Hulu Plus is actually on the TV set as well. If I could unplug everything else and just use and be happy with those, but once again, the experience is horrible. It really is.
Yeah, it is. And every app is different. And that is not really the case if you use Xbox. Xbox has pretty stringent guidelines to how the apps are supposed to be designed and how they're supposed to behave. And that's one of the benefits of using the Xbox. Even though you have to navigate around all of the bull they have with the advertising and where is this particular app, and I don't care about games because this is just a video device for me. The overall experience that they have and consistency across the apps is definitely worth mentioning. And it's Metro. It's a modern UI. It's nice and clean, and it's familiar to Windows users and Windows Phone users. So again, I'm raving about the Xbox unexpectedly.
Yeah. Well, this episode, I think it's Xbox's to win or lose, come May 21st. And by the way, if you're listening, we will be live streaming that event right here, homeservershow.com/live. If you would like to join in on the chat or you would like to watch it, listen to it, comment, snarky comments, whatever. We're going to be doing that on May 21st. I think that's at 1 Eastern, 1 p.m. Eastern, something like that. I'll get an announcement out there. But so hey, we've gone through the hardware.
Well, we haven't gone through all the hardware because
Well,
there
not
are
all of
other
it.
devices
Not all of it.
that
You're right.
still give you over-the-top content plus other capabilities. Now, remember way back in the day when there was this consumer electronics category of products called the DVR? Do you remember that?
I remember a DVR. I've heard of that. The Diver.
And you used to go to, let's say, your Best Buy, and you'd see a bunch of different brands there. There'd be DirecTVs, and there'd be TiVos, and there'd be accessories for Media Center, and you could even buy Media Center built into a number of devices at your Best Buy. That's just not the case anymore. DVRs have kind of gone by the wayside, and for better or for worse, cable and satellite providers have convinced people, probably largely from holding out on providing decent support for cable card, that setting up your own DVR is just too expensive and just too complicated. So most people are using their own cable provider's DVR, and for the most part, those are terrible.
For the most part, I
unless
agree.
you have a provider that has partnered with TiVo or has come up with one of their newer user interfaces, like AT&T Uverse has a pretty decent interface built on Media Room, actually, Microsoft Media Room.
Yeah.
And then you're probably dealing with everything else is dealing with a very slow box and outdated hardware and
with advertising built into the
with
guide,
advertising
and Charter and Comcast
and
last year.
old UI design that's probably still standard definition. I mean, these things are crap, absolute crap, because they're milking them to get as much money out of these boxes as they can before they have to replace them. And there are a couple of exceptions. There are a couple notable exceptions. One of them is the Hopper. If I had Dish, I would absolutely have a Hopper. Now, it's not the most beautiful UI, but it is a very capable system with a whole lot of hardware and software capabilities. So the Hopper has multi-room viewing capability, and it allows you to record things in every room and watch things across. I think it has, if I remember correctly, it's using 4 tuners. And then it has this ability to record everything that's on the air on your local major networks on one of those tuners, allowing you to then go back and watch any of them for 8 days back. It just keeps 8 days worth of everything that's been on the major networks. That's a pretty cool thing. So the Hopper is a really interesting DVR product if you have the service from DirecTV, and it's actually something that you get free if you pay for the HD service from them, but you have to pay for the multi-room boxes.
I've got just for you guys who don't know what Richard really looks like while he's working, and Josh Pollard and Hopper. I've got that on your screen for you guys. So.
Now, Vinyl Freak is saying Hopper's way too expensive, and so I'm curious.
I haven't looked at it. I was a Dish.
I'm curious why he's saying that. It may be that it's only free if you are new to Dish, and so I may be kind of falling into the trap of the the situation where they're saying, "Hey, free," and then there's a little asterisks and some 4-point type underneath it.
Probably. I love Dish Network. I found their DVR service to be better than anything else on the market, including DirecTV, and I really enjoyed their service. I don't have anything now. I'm a cord cutter, say satellite cutter, but
Interesting. Now, DirecTV has greatly improved their DVR line over the last couple of years, and they have multi-room capability. You are going to pay a monthly fee for that, for not only the hub but also the additional boxes. And then I want to bring up the old standbys that managed to survive the death of this device so far, of this category of devices as a consumer product, and those are Media Center and TiVo. Now, we all see the writing on the wall on Media Center, and we recognize that Microsoft is not likely to keep this alive much longer beyond Windows 8. But it is still a fantastic DVR, particularly if you are a digital cable or over-the-air user. And it has true multi-room capabilities with extenders like the Seaton Echo Box or like the Xbox itself. If you have an Xbox, it can be an extender for your Media Center. Mm-hmm. That's a pretty good deal. You're going to pay anywhere from, say, $500 to $1,000 to get a PC set up as a Media Center. But then you're not going to pay anything else. It's $0 a month to run it. That's beautiful. That's one of the reasons I love it. You're not paying a monthly service fee.
True. I'm a convert. In fact, I showed just on the website right here, I built my Media Center inside of a TiVo Series 1, which I call TiVo Center. So that's on your screen right there.
I love that. I think that's awesome. That's a great tribute.
Still use it. Still use it today.
I have an old original Direct TiVo, if you remember those.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's in my basement, I believe, probably holding down some other also defunct boxes. Speaking of TiVo, that's still out there. It's still kicking. It has a user base, believe it or not, that is about a third the size of Media Center. You know, we're all lamenting the fact that Media Center is being abandoned by Microsoft, but the numbers that they've published show that their user base of consistent users is at least 3 times that of TiVo subscribers. But TiVo's still out there, and they're still evolving it. They're still improving it. They just added true multi-room capability with the $100 TiVo Mini add-on. But TiVo is not cheap. And the problem with using TiVo as a multi-room device is that you first pay for your TiVo, and that's going to cost you about $200 to $400. And then if you want a TiVo Mini add-on, that's going to be $100, and you have to buy the $400 box if you want to use the add-on. So let's just assume it's $400. Now we have 2 extra rooms. It's going to be $600, and you have to pay a service fee. And the service fee is monthly. I think it's either $14 a month or a lifetime fee of 500 big ones.
Wow, and that's on the device still.
And you're
or is that
paying
lifetime.
No, that's lifetime on the device. So if the device dies,
you're out.
You're out, and you have to buy a new one and buy a new lifetime service or pay a new service fee. Now, your service fee is for that device only. Even though your TiVo Mini is streaming from the same source, the service for which you're already paying, they also charge you a service fee for using the TiVo Mini. And that's a monthly fee. I think it's about $6 a month or $150 lifetime. So you start adding all that up, and that is a really, really expensive alternative.
Wow. That's crazy.
But it's a great user experience. It's why people like it. And for the most part, it is probably it's becoming one of the most popular kind of what's the word I'm looking for? Partnered DVRs that you're starting to find with cable providers. More and more cable providers are turning to people like Aris and TiVo and make people who do or did make commercial DVRs previously, who know how to do user interfaces and make things usable, and starting to get these kinds of devices. Even my local provider, RCN, offers TiVos now. That's your DVR.
Yeah, that's fantastic. If you're curious about, I've got a shot on the screen now. The TiVo Center in action, which I don't know if you guys can see, but in the middle, don't look in the middle, the TiVo Center is down here on the bottom left. I put a slot loading DVD player in there, so you could slide it in right here. I actually had to Dremel out the slot on the front of the TiVo. So, and this is my movies, an example of my movies and backdrops. So it was a good fun project. I'll put that link in the show notes.
That's very cool. So that's the My Movies app.
That was the My Movies app, that last screen, yeah, with the American Pie.
Very cool. Very cool. Now, the reason that I think that DVRs still matter is that, you and I talked about digital hoarding. That's one of the things that piqued my interest to talk about this. Yeah, we're all moving to the cloud, but realistically, that move isn't going to happen overnight. And there are reasons that the cloud isn't necessarily the answer. We talked about licensing. You don't know that the content that is there today is going to be there tomorrow. And that's a big problem. If I record something, as long as I don't screw up the hard drive or something catastrophic happens, I should be able to watch what I've recorded at any point. I'll have the ability to go back to that and watch it. A year from now, a week from now, 6 years from now, I can still watch it if I want to. And to me, there's value in that. It's one of the reasons why I still buy DVDs and Blu-ray. I want to know that I'm going to have that movie when I want to watch it and not find out when I log into Service X that their licensing agreement just ended. And so now I don't have that available to me when I'm somewhere in Poughkeepsie. I mean, I just... I am not going to put up with that, and so I want to have control over my media and where it is. So my purchases in Ultraviolet are only because I've purchased discs already. I don't think I have any movie that I only have in digital form. I think every movie that I have in digital form, I also have available to me in physical form.
Thinking back, I think I am in the same boat. I don't think I've ever purchased one just digital. No, I can honestly say I think.
Now, another problem is quality. I am I'm one of these people that I can't stand it when I go into the Best Buy or the local sports bar or looking at the small screen in front of me on United, and the friggin' aspect ratio is stretched out of proportion because they don't know how to set it up right. That makes me crazy. Video quality and sound quality to me are very important. So a lot of these streaming services, and Vudu is probably the only exception, the quality is kind of a crapshoot. It could be good, it could be bad. That may depend on the service. It may depend on your bandwidth. Another thing to consider here is that when you're moving everything to the cloud, and you talk about this all the time when you're talking about backups and anything else where you may be using cloud services, if you're paying for how much service you use, how many megabytes or gigabytes you're transferring, then you could be in a big problem if you watch a lot of movies. Because if you download or watch, let's say, an HD quality movie from Vudu, that's 4 to 8 gigabytes. That's a lot.
Mm-hmm.
That's a whole lot. So a lot of those are adding up if you have ceilings. And then, you may get extra charges. You may have problems with your provider putting artificial caps on you. So that's something to consider. And also, not everybody has the kind of bandwidth that I have the luxury of having. I have Fios, and I don't have any problem watching movies.
No, you don't. Very nice.
But a Vudu HD quality movie takes, say, 4.5 to, say, 7 megabits per second. Well, not everybody can do that. So you're not going to get that kind of quality when you're watching stuff through the cloud that way. So that's something to consider there. I think the biggest problem, and this is something I've written about and I've raved about repeatedly, is discovery. How do you find the content that's out there?
Yeah.
So you talked about this when you were trying to use PlayOn. It's a bunch of folders. Well, right, but I just want to know where Survivor is.
Mm-hmm.
How do I find Survivor?
Or Curious George. Yeah.
Or yeah. Is it on live TV? Is it on some? Is it in some folder somewhere? Do I already own it? Where does it exist?
It's like that full search. You want to hit your window key and type, Curious space G, and then just have it. Oh, there it is.
Yep. Nobody has solved this problem yet. There are people working on it. Bing is trying to solve it. TiVo is trying to solve it. I think even the PS3 has a search capability that is trying to search across different sources. There are many people trying to solve this problem right now. Nobody has done it. Nobody has solved this problem yet. So, that's something that continues to be an issue. And the more that we get a combination of linear and stored and cloud on-demand content all merged together, the harder it's going to be.
Sorry, I'm trying to take you serious, Richard. Your dog has to pee.
With my dog in the back squeaking toys, yeah, it's hard to take me seriously.
That is classic. That is.
Let me close the door behind me right now.
You are correct. I will continue on. You have a couple of seconds here, guys. What I'm doing right now is I'm typing up a post in the Home Server Show forum. So this is going to be in the media forum. So you might have to kind of search for it, but it should be at the very top of the discussion for a little while. So you guys help me come out there and let's do some posts on this episode, and we can talk about what you use and how you use it, and what's the best for you. Because I did hit Richard at the top of this show on the box to best them all. And I don't know if I came away with one. I mean, if I stuck you down and said, hey, I need a box that does, I mean, honestly, I would say I need a box that does some kind of AirPlay, Play 2. I needed to run Amazon and probably Hulu and Netflix.
Wait, that's easy, right? You know the answer to that question.
I think I do. The Xbox.
Yeah. The Xbox is the answer.
Everything but AirPlay. And I think there was even some cheater apps out there for you could use AirPlay from Windows, but
yeah, but you're not to your Xbox, but you can use it. You can use it on Windows, maybe on your media center.
Yeah.
I reviewed and played around with something called Aerodrone that gives you AirPlay on your media center.
I saw that.
It's not the best solution because it doesn't take over, right? When you use AirPlay, you want it to take over the screen.
Right, and that I was going to say maybe when the HDMI specs catch up and all of our boxes and all of our TVs are on the same HDMI spec, we can hit AirPlay from your phone to your Apple TV device, and the TV that's on, tuned into Media Center, will instantly just cut over to that HDMI port, give it, I don't know, priority at that time. Someday that something will work out that way, but
wouldn't that be great? I don't know that I'm believing that that's going to happen. I mean,
that's what they say.
We've had consumer electronic control for how long built into the spec, and nobody is really using it well. I was amazed to find out that my new TV and my AV receiver can actually talk to each other. It's the first two devices I've had that actually know how to talk to each other.
One of the reasons I have a Samsung TV, and a Samsung Blu-ray player, because when you turn on the Blu-ray, it will switch over the HDMI. That's all it does. I don't know if it does anything else, but that's kind of handy.
Now, I'm curious if they're using CEC or if they're doing something proprietary.
I think it's CEC something.
That's good. That's good.
Or maybe they call it something different, AnyNet or something. Maybe
Yeah.
they call it. I don't know.
Well, everyone brands it.
Yeah,
You have to call it your own
of
because
course.
it's like
ST.
Disney Blu-ray. They're not Blu-rays. They're Disney Blu-rays. They have their own logo and everything. Yeah. So I mean, honestly, of all the boxes out there, if you're looking for the box and a DVR isn't necessarily the highest thing on your list, you're just looking for cloud video services. The Xbox and is the best for you if you want the most amount of services and you're willing to pay the live fee, the $40 annual fee. It's $40 if you use Amazon. You should use Amazon, and you should go through Dave's Amazon link to go buy that.
Homeservershow.com/Amazon.
Did I do that right, Dave?
Very good. Thank you, sir. You just paid for the bandwidth for the last 5 minutes. Thank you.
And the other box, if you really don't want a big, huge game box in your home, is the Roku. That's an amazing, amazing little device. It's great for a bedroom. If you just want services available in a second room in your house or in a bedroom and you don't need a DVR and you don't need a game machine, the Roku is a fantastic box for $99.
So you get the big one?
The newest one is the Roku 3. Version 3 is the one you should be buying nowadays because you're going to start seeing an evolution where, like with Android and like with iOS, developers are going to start targeting just the newer hardware. And I think you're best off just putting the $99 down and buying the new one. Don't cheap out. Don't try and get a sale on a $79 version.
$49.99. Buy now.
Yeah.
There it is, Roku 3 on your screen. Okay. I'm intrigued by that. I may just have to get one for up here in the Home Server Show studios.
Great little box. And finally, if you are an iTunes ecosystem person and you're bought into that, you only have one option. And it's probably not going to be your only device because you're going to want services that aren't available on that box, and that's the Apple TV.
And that'll be the $3,000 Apple 40-inch LED TV.
That Apple TV. I want one of those, Dave.
So, you're pretty much stuck into that ecosystem. And the Apple TV, like I said, I bought it for one reason only. It works fantastic. Love it. Has great appeal for the little ones that run around here, but otherwise, it never sees the light of day.
I think it was Rennie in the chat when we first started that said there isn't really one device that can do everything. And he's absolutely right. There is not one end-all be-all device yet. There are a couple that are really, really close, but it depends what ecosystem holds the content that you use, and what your preferences are and your needs are in your household.
Wow, I think this was a streaming megasode. I think it was.
I think we've reached about the end of my voice.
Yeah, no, I know. I got another podcast to go. So, Surface Geeks is coming up next. The schedule, May 15th, we are off, but I think Jim Collison has some audio for me somewhere in my Dropbox. I'm gonna try to drop that into a podcast, so you'll have something to get you to work that week and back. May 21st, 10 a.m. Pacific. 1 a.m. Eastern, my quick time zone math, Xbox.com is the big reveal. So we're going to be right here chatting it up. Sneak it in at work, chat with us, and we'll go from there. So, Richard, you had one more thing for me that you were going to talk about, and then we'll let you go.
All right, thank you. And Dave, this was a lot of fun. I really appreciate it. I know I gave you a hard time when you came back at me when I offered A, and you said, "Well, could we have A through Z?"
I always push it, Richard. Everybody knows me. I'm always pushing it. So sorry.
It's okay. It was a lot of fun. So what I do want to talk about real quickly is, as most people know, one of the things that I'm a big fan of is home control and home automation technology. And we have been desperately trying to come up with convoluted ways of working that into Entertainment 2.0. And it's a stretch, and our audience is incredibly lenient with us to just kind of put up with Josh and me desperately wanting to talk about home control and home automation stuff. And I think we've found a solution that will make that a little bit easier for everybody, and that's that we're starting a new show on the DMZ.
Wow.
And I'm going to be hosting a semi-weekly, every other week based show on home automation and home control. It's going to be short form, 30-minute show. And we are recording the first couple of episodes now before we launch. We'll be launching at the end of the month, probably closer to the beginning of June. We already have a couple in the can. I have some great guests lined up. I have some CEOs of home control technology companies. You know, they're small companies that are doing this. A lot of them are startups. A lot of them are just maybe 10-person shops. So everybody's eager to get the word out there and get some interest in their products and some recognition. So we're seeing a lot of interest and participation. So stay tuned. Check on the DMZ over the next couple of weeks, and we'll have more information about that coming out very soon.
That sounds fantastic. And I never really got into it, but I enjoy it. So I enjoy it as a topic. It'll be on my podcasting list. I can't wait to listen to that one. So
excellent.
That's awesome. Make sure you ping me so I can put that out there.
All right, we'll do.
All the links and all the good stuff. So we'll get you started, hopefully, and get some guys over there and get some podcasts downloaded. So, Richard, you are what impresses me or what annoys me? Is that right on Twitter?
Depending on my mood.
Depending on the mood. So you gotta do both. You want to keep up with these guys. You got to do both. Otherwise, the digitalmediazone.com. Is that right? Or digital media?
Thedigitalmediazone.com, and our weekly show on Media Center and other Microsoft entertainment technologies that I do with Josh Pollard is Entertainment 2.0.
Yeah, and you guys roll on usually on Tuesday nights. Sometimes we overlap a little bit, but usually on Tuesday nights. So there's no excuse why you can't go Tuesday, DMZ, Wednesday, Home Server Show, Surface Geeks, Thursday, TheAverageGuy.tv.
And I'm going to throw Monday, The End User.
The End User
DMZ
on Monday.
podcast.
That's true. That's true. Love Chris Hell Barnes. Love getting him out here for some podcasting. And then Sunday night, BYOB. So you have Friday and Saturday off, folks. So do what you want to do on those days. But otherwise, we got you. We have this podcasting network. We got you. It's fun to do it. Again, this is episode 223, homeservershow.com/forums. Get out there and chat. There's a brand new post. I just put it out there while we were talking, and tell me what box works for you, and maybe tell me what box would work for me. We can continue this on into the future when new stuff is revealed, and I appreciate it. Richard, thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. It's been fun.
All right. Good night, guys.
Good night.